Good evening, boys and girls of all ages and all degrees of mental acuity. And if you're watching this, probably not very high degrees of mental acuity. This is Uncle Dan, the Vinyl Man, bringing you another episode of Uncle Dan's Vintage Vinyl, the YouTube channel that does less to bring you less. And this evening, I'm bringing you literally less. I'm bringing you an LP by the great Les Baxter. Yeah, that's right, Les Baxter. This dates from about 1958, 59, thereabouts. Back at that time, this would have been tremendously popular, and you'd have found this and other things by Les in a lot of bachelor pads. And in fact, if you'd found it in a bachelor pad, if a woman had found it in a bachelor pad in particular, I think the guy would have remained a bachelor, because the gal comes in and sees this, she's going to say, yeah, that's who you are. I got you taped out and titled off, or at least one hopes that she would have. Anyway, this is Ports of Pleasure, and it's an example of what in genre that's called exotica. And what I want to talk about is really kind of the semiotics of exotica. Semiotica exotica, which, by the way, would be I think a pretty decent name for a journal. Semiotica exotica. Any of you graduate students out there wanting to found your own journal and thereby get a job and get a professorship, there you go. Semiotica exotica. Send me some royalties on that, by the way. Anyway, I mentioned too a couple of weeks ago. I think I did. I'm sure I did, in fact, although when it was, I can't remember. But the critic Edward Said, in his book, Orientalism. In Orientalism, Edward Said was talking about the way that Western cultures came up with visions and versions of the... Really, he was talking principally about Middle Eastern cultures, but you come up with visions and versions of those Middle Eastern cultures and use those visions and versions, kind of populate them with their own imaginings. And a lot of it was kind of out of the id, really, because a lot of it was, imagine very sort of, they assumed that those Orientals were in particular, very lusty, but also super subtle and crafty and that sort of thing. But very bodily, although they were considered also very, very cunning too. Anyway, this LP, you see that Ports of Pleasure here, that this is really set in the Far East, but it's still an example of Orientalism. Set in the Orient. We look at this young woman and the scene behind her, and I think we can conclude that she's probably, it looks like maybe out of Bali. She's Balinese. Although, you wouldn't want to get fussy about that sort of thing. She's from the mysterious, exotic, and erotic Orient. I don't think there's really, it's maybe just a nice conjunction between exotic and erotic, that they're only one letter apart. But for a lot of people, exotica and erotica are, like one and the same. And this is what we got here. The exotica becomes the erotica. We look at her, and she got that, very lovely young woman with that very kind of interesting, I would say a Mona Lisa smile, except I don't think that's, she promised something maybe a little different from what Mona Lisa was promised. At least we think so. And we look at her and we say, hey, what's she wearing? I don't. She seems to have, lost some clothes somewhere along the way. Keep looking down. Well, I don't know. I can't tell quite what she's wearing down under there. I've looked a lot, but I still can't see. One hopes that she was wearing something, but the idea is, she wasn't. And of course, she'd be, here you are, available for the you and your bachelor pad. Listen to this great bachelor pad music, right? So yeah, this is turn the backside. I seem often to turn to the backside. Anyway, the few people are as skilled in the use of the brilliance and color of an orchestra to evoke images of exotic places, as is composer-conductor Les Baxter. Exotic places, love that. Here, in an album of compositions by Les Baxter, he calls forth fascinating impressions of the mysterious East. Those small dots on the globe where one's index finger lingers longest. Oh, yeah. That's really subtle there, Les, or whoever wrote that. I don't know. I guess Les didn't write it, but it's real subtle. I wonder if they could have been more subtle. I suspect that if they tried to be more subtle, it would have ended up like that scene in Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, where I think that's Rachel Weisz, a character played by Rachel Weisz, says the character played by Steve Martin, you know how to dial a phone, don't you? You put your finger in the hole and make tiny circles. So that's about as subtle as that. There's other great, each one of the songs gets its own description to it, and they're all well worth reading. But my favorite is Harem Silks from Bombay. Freighters from Bombay carry rich silks and another more beautiful cargo, slave girls for wealthy princes of the East. Man, you just see the old boys in their bachelor pads. Yeah, harem girls. Oh yeah, harem girls. Yeah, we got all over that. Yeah, exotica was really a thing back in the 50s and into the 60s, and some of the Hawaiian music kind of partook of that. And it was sort of went away, but it's kind of come back. It came back really kind of in the 90s with the resurgence of lounge music, and that was when I first encountered Les Baxter. It was in the summer of 1997 at a Borders bookstore. If you remember those, I picked up. And admittedly, because I thought the cover was cool, the CD, 2 CD set of The Exotic Moods of Les Baxter. And if I weren't just bone lazy, I would go find that and show you that. But you'll have to look it up for yourselves on the internet. The Exotic Moods of Les Baxter. You can find that, and you can stream it if you want to. I think you can stream pretty much all of Les Baxter these days if you're into that. But the stuff's still being released. I just got this in the mail the other day. A brand new release with new liner notes and then the old liner notes on here. But yeah, this just came out. Ritual of the Savage, Le Sacre du Sauvage. Oh man, and one of the cool things, of course, Les being being intellectual here. He was actually said that he was influenced by Stravinsky. Stravinsky's work, Le Sacre du Printemps, or the Rites of Spring. So this is sort of his homage to Le Sacre du Printemps. And we got lots of great stuff. The tikis there, and of course the requisite gal who's wearing a paucity of clothes and that cool stuff. And yeah, but great stuff. I did want to read one of the original track descriptions here. Sophisticated Savage, with an air of elan that marks sophisticates from Madison Avenue to the Gold Coast. A lean native, casually clad in bone jewelry and an enigmatic smile, ambles up to a merchant and effects a trade. A freshly caught fish in return for a gold-capped, empty perfume bottle. A carefully chosen gift for a well-loved young friend. I almost said well-endowed. I guess I'm thinking of Eddie Arnold but a carefully chosen gift for a well-loved young friend. It's just so great. I mean, Sophisticated Savage. Oh man, the condescension is just dripping from there. And of course, whoever wrote this wouldn't have understood that. But I say whatever I want to say about this, but the music actually it's pretty cool music. It's great. It's you kind of put it on and you can listen to it, and it's not real challenging music, but it's pleasant. Something to do when you say For example, maybe you listen to it when you're recording a video for your YouTube channel. I don't know who would do that. Anyway, yeah, that's what. But anyway, this is it. Back to Les Baxter, Portholes of Pleasure. Wait, did I call that Portholes of Pleasure? I don't know why. I said, oh well, it's got portholes on the back there. Portholes of Pleasure. Great LP, highly recommended by Uncle Dan. So that's all for today. You take care. Hit like. Remember to hit like and subscribe. And for God's sake, hit like. I mean, I got relatives watching this, and they can't manage to hit like. I mean, don't you owe me that? Yeah. And I'm talking to you. I'm looking right at you right now. I'm saying, you do it. You hit that like button and you hit that subscribe button. Ain't gonna cost you nothing. Okay. So this is Uncle Dan, the Vinyl Man. Hey, Uncle Dan, back just real briefly. My video recording got cut off, but I did want to say my closing, which I have to say every time. It's Uncle Dan, the Vintage Vinyl Man, saying au revoir, and in addition, à bientôt.